It's exciting for me to be sitting here with you guys. How cool is it just for you guys to be in your own presence as friends, just to be together?
It's great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we don't get a chance to do this that often. It's actually amazing that I mean, not to bring too many numbers into it, but 37 years I think after we first played a show together on the same stage.
Wow.
Here we are hanging out, still, you know, playing
It's
music, liking each other.
We did a couple of shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
We did one in San Francisco and one in Los Angeles that were very well attended, and we were kind of taken aback. We didn't realize people would still remember our little scene all these years later, and there was like 1,000 people at each show, and that's what sparked us to do this 3x4 album. Is let's take this to another place. You know, let's record something.
Just keep it going in some
And
way.
Danny Benair, the drummer of the group I was with, 3 o'clock, he had the idea that we should all do a song by each other, which was very clever, I thought, and we did.
Yeah.
I mean, I think because when we did these shows together, and those, I think they came from Louis, right? He was like the instigator of that, Louis Gutierrez.
I think so,
The
yeah.
guitars at 3 o'clock, because it was a benefit show. I think it was one of those things where, this is 7 years ago now, I think he had the idea of bringing the bands all together to play a show, and it was amazingly enough that we were available, free, playing shows at the time on our own, so we kind of were able to kind of play our songs.
Yeah.
But it was over in a flash. I mean, it was one fun weekend, and I think the first thing we all felt the following week was, well, that was fun, what do we do now? And really, for us to go out and do, say, a tour or things bands might do, isn't so easy because there's a lot of people involved. There's a lot, it's a whole lot of musicians, a lot of, production. In California, it's easy because we're all here. So we thought, what can we do? And let's make a record. And play when we can, or do whatever we can when we can.
Yeah.
And this is really, I think, going to be only the third time we've gotten together with this
And
group.
it was such a magical time, a very specific time in all of our kind of journeys as musicians and having formed bands and finding each other in LA.
We all
This
love
big, sprawling city. And we found each other. And we found friends that loved the same music at a time when our personal fascination with 60s music and melody and the Velvet Underground and the Byrds and the Beatles and whatever our shared influences were, and then we would do these shows together, and we felt like we were a community. We felt like we had found our people.
Yeah.
And we loved each other as people and friends, but we also we worshipped each other's music. And I say worship, we really did. We really loved each other's music. And so it was just this arts community.
We were outsiders in our own scene
We
because
were.
there was a kind of music at the time. I mean, you look back when we were starting out, things like something as simple as bands playing guitars, let alone bands playing guitars playing a 60s kind of music, let alone 60s kind of underground garage music, let alone things like the Velvet Undergrounds and things you'd find on a garage compilation. All these things was not in the mainstream. It's become a little more hip over time, but we were the flag bearers.
We were listening to the Nuggets records, the Lenny Kaye compilations. We all shared this sort of insider, going to record stores and going through the bins and in those iconic old days that don't exist now. Yeah.
Early 80s. My band, I first met her, she came up to me and grabbed me by the jacket and said, "You're amazing." At Godzilla's.
Oh,
At
really?
Godzilla's,
And Michael used to make me mixtapes in the days of how great were
I'd make her
mixtapes. I still have them. And
I want a copy.
No, they were the most obscure, and I mean, you knew about Jefferson Airplane when they were the Great Society. We just would share with each other. We learned from each other. We taught each other.
Yeah. How often were you guys actually sharing bills together, or how rare was that?
Lots.
Quite a bit. Although the 4 bands, I think just one time, and if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong.
We were running to you in Europe, and we played with you in San Francisco.
But in the old days, there was a show at the Music Machine, a club that was on Pico Boulevard on the west side of LA. That I believe, I know it might be the one time the 4 of us shared a bill back in those days, and I always felt like that was kind of the epicenter of the Paisley Underground, is when we all had been. Now, bear in mind, 6 months, when you're young, is like 60 years. It's it had been forever since we first met each other. And at that point, we were starting to get attention, making records, getting a little head of steam. And it was an exciting night where everybody was coming into their own, playing great stuff, kind of getting ready to, to be a real band, maybe make a first album. And I think when we had the idea to play together as a Paisley Underground, it felt like, well, that was the scene. And of course, other bands were part of that scene as well. There are bands like the Long Riders or Green on Red that were also very much in the scene. But I think we had that really brief moment of when we were all very naive and really we were making up the rules and didn't know how it worked, and we found at the same time.
We did a field trip to Catalina. We did like a
Catalina
field trip.
Island,
and Michael came up with the name Paisley Underground.
In an interview at a Denny's restaurant on Sunday, it was called the Rock and Roll Denny's.
Right,
It was on, it's not there anymore.
Rodney used to have a booth there.
He had,
and
he had
still
his own
does,
booth.
probably.
And they asked me, the Los Angeles Weekly magazine, LA Weekly, asked me, what do you call this little group of friends? And I said, it's the Paisley Underground. And we didn't think anything of it. And then I think maybe 3 weeks or a month later, somebody comes running in the door going, look at this British magazine. They're talking about the Paisley Underground. I forgot I'd even said it. And I was like, what? And
Well done.
And then they were all mad.
No, we weren't.
No, you said it before. I think was an amazing name.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because over the years, and the thing when people ask about the Paisley Underground, which happens a lot, two things. One, people say, now, was it really a scene? Expecting me to say, oh, that's blown out of proportion. It really was. We really were hanging out together, playing shows, dating, going to having field trips, writing songs, all the things for about 1 year. And then I would say what broke up our scene was success.
Yeah.
All of us started getting more success. And like Matt said, we started touring and going out, and we couldn't be a scene anymore because we were apart.
That's what I want to ask. When that started clicking, when songs ended up on the radio and deals started getting signed and toured, what was that like for you guys? That must have been extremely exciting, I think, above all else.
Yes,
Even though
that's the key. The key is songs. And the thing I respect about each of these people out here is their ability to write good songs, serious melodic songwriters. And if that wasn't true, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. And it wouldn't have been as much fun to do this record, which was a blast.
I have to ask you about the new record, about these times. It's very exciting, new Dream Syndicate record. Speaking about moving forward, just put into words what that album's all about for you and how exciting it is to keep the band moving into the future.
Well, when we'd broken up for almost 30 years and started playing again, and we made our first album in a long time 2 years ago, How Did I Find Myself Here? And on that record, we felt that kind of need to reference the past but move forward. And that's a hard thing, because if you want to try, if you go too much like you're just miming your history, who needs that? If you forget who you were, who needs that? We balanced it well, and I think on this new record we had the freedom to completely move forward. And this record, we're really proud of it because it feels like a Dream Syndicate record, but sounds nothing like anything we did before. And the nice thing is, when you do that, you're always bracing yourself for your older fans to say, what have you done to the band I loved? But so far, people are really liking it, so that feels great.
Want more extra? Hit the subscribe button and the bell and never miss a video.